Ever since Mojang introduced the crafter block into the game, I have not been able to stop playing with it. It's just overall such an absolutely amazing block, and it has so many different possibilities for us to learn and use. And you might have guessed that from all of my latest videos covering all of the different ways that we are using this block. And I also have a video, which was my first video on the crafter, that goes over everything that you need to know about the crafter, how it works, all of the mechanics, and stuff like that. Inside of that video, there was also this fully universal crafting machine here, and this thing works absolutely amazing for most of your craftable items. However, even though this thing can craft just about every item inside of Minecraft that can be crafted by a crafter or a crafting table, there are a few that it cannot, and those recipes are going to be the ones that contain non-stackable items. So for example, due to the hopper bug that plagues us on both Minecraft Java and Minecraft Bedrock Edition, it essentially means if we put a material from this dropper into this hopper and then one from this one into this one, technically because these are going into the hopper behind, it should be one hopper behind the entire time, which means that this system should be able to put all the items into here at the same order that they actually went into this hopper line. However, with the hopper bug, there is something that causes all of these to be scrambled up inside of here, and then by the time they find their way over here to the crafter, they are all a big jumbled up mess, and that is no good because we rely on that in order to craft our shaped recipes. Now for the stackable items, it's not that big of a deal because you can just pre-fill this and basically make a item filter. That way all of your items are going to go into the dedicated spot that you want them to. However, whenever it comes to a non-stackable item, you can't stack the items inside of here, so what happens is you will have your recipe inside of here for the first time, and then whenever it crafts, it's going to spit it out into this hopper and then go into the chest. And then whenever it refills, because they are inside of the hoppers in no particular order, you might get a bucket here or a bucket here or a bucket here, which completely breaks the recipe. That will also allow the non-stackable items to pile up at the back hopper here, which will then also break the crafter. So how do we combat this situation and fix it? And the answer to that is version 2. We have version 2 over here, which is a much better crafter design, and because it's based off of the original version 1, that means if you have already built this inside of your world, then you can go ahead and build this one and not have to really change everything because the generalized layout is the same for most of the blocks. Now, just like all of my other videos on the crafter, everything that you're going to see inside of this video will work for Java Edition, which is the version that I am currently recording on. I will be switching over to the latest beta preview over on Bedrock to finish the recording and the tutorial for this. But this will not only work for Java Edition, but as mentioned, it will also work for Bedrock Edition, which does include all of the consoles that you'll play on, so your phones, your computers, consoles, iPads, and stuff like that. So why is this one over here better? Well, the first thing that I did was add in a timing circuit here, and this timing circuit is going to allow us to tick these droppers. Instead of ticking them all at the same time, we're going to be ticking them inside of a sequence, so they will very quickly be ticked one after another, so it'd go first, second, third, fourth, fifth, instead of all of them being ticked at the same time. That allows us to put a space in between the items, so that way they cannot mix up inside of the hopper line. So that means that whenever the items actually reach the crafter, that they are still in order, which means that they will all go into here, filling out the order of the crafting recipe accurately every single time, which will mean that you get crafted items every single time. Another thing that I have changed on this is pretty much the interface that you use to turn it on. This one is much more simple. On the version 1, you would have to make sure that this lever was turned off, and then once it's turned off, then you can hit the button and that's going to start the farm, and it will basically keep circulating until it either runs out of items or it is powered off by this lever here. Once it's powered off, then you would have to wait a couple seconds and then turn this off, and then you could press the start button again and repeat the crafting process as long as you had all the items inside of here. Which works, but it is not ideal. On this one, it is much more simple. You just give this a quick flick, and whenever you give this a quick flick, it's going to start crafting the recipes. To demonstrate that, let me go ahead and fix my ingredients over here first. So now inside of the ingredients, you can see that we have these inside of the correct order in order to make a beacon. So we have the nether stars there, glass there, and then obsidian, obsidian, obsidian. So you will basically put these inside of the order to fill in one after another, and because these will fill in from left to right, top to bottom, if we were to make a beacon, it would be glass here, glass here, glass here, glass here, nether star here, glass here, obsidian here, and obsidian here, which means that you're going to want to put them inside of the correct order here. So it'd be glass, 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 which would take care of the top row, glass, nether star, glass, which would take care of the center row, and then obsidian, 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 which would take care of the last row. So to demonstrate this working, we'll go over here and give this lever a flick, and off is going to be inside of the powered position. So we literally just turn it off. And whenever we do that, as you can see, we're going to start getting items down here. They're going to fill into this crafter at the exact order that they need to every single time without fail. And it's going to craft as soon as it gets fully filled. So essentially, just like the other one, what we are doing is detecting whenever they are coming into here. Whenever they leave this hopper and it is then empty, it will then power the crafter, which will craft the recipe, because if this one's empty, that means the crafter has all the ingredients necessary in order to make the item. And then whenever this spits it out, it's going to be sensed inside of this hopper, powering that comparator, which will then ultimately power the dropper system again, repeating the process, which makes for a very simple and easy crafting circuit that is going to sit here and craft all of your items without fail every single time. But the beautiful thing about this is that we don't have to preset the filter anymore, because these are all inside of the correct order and we don't have the hopper bug to worry about anymore. That means that we don't have to set a pre-filter inside of the crafter here. And if you take a look, we already have 13 of them in just that short moment. Now there is one downside for this crafter, and that is if you are crafting a recipe that does not require 9 and you have some empty droppers, whenever a dropper is empty, they are going to tick, which personally does not bother me, and it doesn't bother some players, but I know a lot of players it does bother constantly hearing that ticking. So for example, if I wanted to come over here and turn this off, all I would have to do is flick the lever off, and then it's going to finish cycling, and that's going to turn it off. So it's literally flick the lever up to turn it on and flick the lever down to turn it off. So much easier than the last system. And because my crafter automatically finishes crafting the items in here, we don't ever have to pull any items out or change any filter blocks as mentioned. So we can just come over here and change all of our ingredients. So for example, if I wanted to craft something that would be a crafting table, I would come in here, just double check the recipe and say, okay, if I put it in this specific order, I know I'm going to be able to craft a crafting table. So then we can lock out these other spots here, and that's only going to require 4 planks in order to make this. These recipes are of course all the same recipes that you would use inside of a crafting table. So then I can pull my planks out here, and then my first material would go inside of the first dropper here. So we'll put a plank there. The second material would go into this second one. The third one, which is here, would go inside of the third one. And you might have already guessed, but the fourth one is obviously going to go into the fourth one. So then we can go over here and turn this lever on, which is going to start the crafting. And as you can see, we're going to start getting crafting tables inside of here, just like so. But as I mentioned, you are going to run into the empty droppers, making that annoying clicking noise. Now, if you don't want that clicking noise, then all you have to do is take some solid blocks and put directly underneath all of these droppers here. Grab you some levers, and then come to this back side and place all 9 of your levers down here. Ideally, you should only need 8 because, well, you're going to at least be using 1 to craft, but for this demonstration, we'll just use 9. And then you can come down here to your empty droppers, which we know we're only using 4 materials, so we're going to remove 5 of these. So now only the 4 ones are actually unpowered and are able to be powered by the system, which means that this system is going to be totally quiet. And it also means that you can actually store and not change materials inside of here if you desire. Just be aware whenever you do power these with materials in, you are going to have some materials pushing in through the line, and you might have to clean out either the crafter or maybe the hopper here. So now that we have all of those turned on, you can see that it is nice and quiet and crafting away at our crafting tables, which is very nice. If we wanted to change this to a double crafting recipe and say use the planks to make a stick, then we could just go here and turn that off. And then you're going to want to also power 2 of these as well. That way you're not getting too many items coming through here and building up items like so inside of the crafter. So if you're holding any kind of items inside of the crafter, it is not working properly and you need to make sure that it is set up as I described. And the really nice thing is, if you wanted to get extra fancy with it, you could actually go down through here with some lamps, and that's going to allow you to see exactly which ones are turned off, and you know that the unlit ones are the ones that are active. Now you might be wondering, Bill, how do you know that the system is out of materials? Well, the way that you know is that it's not going to push out that material that it runs out of. And if that is the case, then it's not going to have enough materials going into here to actually complete the recipe, which will not allow it to make it into this dropper, and that will automatically cut off the system. And whoa, that was perfect timing because this thing just ran out of planks, which means it does not have anything else to push into here, so the whole system shut off automatically. Now you might be wondering if this system runs out of just one material here. So for example, we're going to put our planks inside of here. We have 6 in one and none inside of the other. And then we can just pulse this lever real quick to turn it back on. You might notice that it is crafting the buttons instead, and that can be a problem. So in order to avoid this, I would always make sure that all of your materials are either constantly being filled and never run low, or if you have a set amount inside of here by just filling up these chests, then you're going to make sure that every single ingredient going into all of these hoppers and droppers are going to be the exact same quantity. So for example, if I wanted to make a stack of 64 beacons, then that would mean that you would want 64 ingredients exactly in each one of these, meaning that they would all run out at the exact same time, which means that you would never run into any funny business like this, crafting buttons that, well, you didn't really want. I would think using this process should work for just about everybody, since we typically put stacks of items inside of here anyways. So yeah, just make sure they're all even. And if for some reason that does not work for you, I did leave plenty of room along the backside here. That way, for whatever reason, if you did want to add some type of circuitry in order to shut off the dropper whenever it has run out of materials, you can do so. So what do you guys say? Enough jibber jabber. Let's jump into building this thing. Everything that you're going to need is going to be down inside of the description below. While you're down there, drop a like. It really helps out the channel. Let's try to hit about 500 likes on this video. That would really help me out. And just to show that this does also work on Bedrock Edition, the second half of this tutorial will also be over on Bedrock Edition, building the exact same thing as you see here. Both versions have been tested and they both work wonderfully. And as you can see, we are over here on snapshot 1.20.50.21 on the latest beta preview. And in front of me, we have the exact same contraption here. This one here is set up to start making a bunch of cakes. And just to test it out to show that it works real fast, you can see that we have a bunch of cakes, a bunch of buckets. We can turn this lever off, which is going to start this thing working. And it is going to make us some cakes. And if you haven't noticed, it does dispense all of the buckets into the chest here. So you may or may not want a lot more storage system depending on how many cakes you're crafting. And you are also going to want to make your storage system a little bit bigger for those ingredients that do require the buckets of milk because they're non-stackable. So let's just say, well, it will burn through that half a chest of buckets of milk very, very quickly. And you can also turn these chests and make double chests going sideways, and that will allow you to have more storage as well. Now that did just run out, which is perfect timing because as you can see, I intentionally did not put the same amount of items inside of here on purpose. As you can see, we have a bunch more sugar and a bunch of other materials, and the buckets of milk ran out first, as to be expected. And as mentioned, it's not going to be able to finish crafting it because it does not have the required ingredients, which means it cannot craft it, which will automatically stop the farm. Now in order to fix this, you literally just remove this, add the missing ingredients, make sure that all of them are the same quantity, and then you turn the lever off and on and it will start again. That simple. Let's build it. Now you guys know the drill. In order to guarantee the performance and reliability of this crafter, you are going to want to chunk align this. That is the only way that I can guarantee the reliability and the performance of this farm. Although to be technical, this thing is small enough you probably won't run into issues if you didn't, but you don't want to induce any either. The very first thing that you're going to want to do is find a nice flat area in order to build this. You are then going to go into that area, place down a temporary block just so you can place down your double chest. This is going to be the output item double chest. Then you can grab you a hopper, place down a hopper here, place down 2 temporary blocks on the back of that hopper, remove this temporary block and place your crafter here facing forwards into that hopper. Then you're going to remove this temporary block. Then you're going to grab your hoppers and place 11 hoppers going back. Once you placed in your hoppers, you're going to go back over here to the front. Grab you some solid blocks on this front hopper. You're going to go to the right hand side and place down a solid block here. And then you're going to go forward by 3 blocks. 1, 2, 3. Place down a solid block here and a solid block here. We're then going to grab our comparators, repeaters, and redstone torches. Place a comparator on this block facing out and a comparator on this block facing out. Then grab you a repeater and place your repeater here on this block on a 4-tick delay. You are then going to grab your solid blocks again and place a solid block right here inside of this location. So this is what you should have so far. We are then going to jump on the chest and we are going to crouch place a solid block right here with a torch to the side of it. We're going to place a block on the top with a torch on the top of it. Then we're going to place down a solid block here with redstone dust on top of it. Then on the other side of this block, we're going to build this out by 2, build it out in this direction by 1, take 2 pieces of glass and place a piece of glass here and a piece of glass here. We are then going to place a comparator here on subtract mode, so left click on it. A repeater here on the default 1-tick delay with redstone dust here and here. Then we're going to take a bunch of temporary blocks and crouch place a temporary block on the output side of that comparator. Bring this all the way to the end of the hoppers. Then you are going to grab you some observers, and directly under all 9 of these temporary blocks, you're going to place observers facing up with the output facing down. So it should look just like this. Then you're going to remove all of your temporary blocks. Directly underneath all of these observers, you are going to place a solid block. And then you are going to grab your droppers, and on the other side of that solid block, you are going to then place all of your droppers facing towards all of these hoppers. You should have 9 in total. At this point, you can grab your hoppers, and we're going to place our hoppers going into the top of all of these droppers. And to give a little bit more storage, we're just going to place our double chest like this. And then on top of all of your observers here, you are just going to place down a repeater facing towards the back of the crafting machine. And then once you reach the end, you are just about pretty much done. We do need to place a piece of redstone here. And then we do also need to place a lever down here. So let's grab a lever and place it right here. Again, if you wanted to make this to where it would not tick, you can just grab you some more solid blocks. Underneath all of your droppers here, you're going to place down your solid blocks all the way until you get to the very end, and then place down 9 levers as well. And then you can flick those to make the droppers quiet as mentioned. If you wanted the fancy lighting, then you could just add the lights to this side here along next to all of these solid blocks. Now, for whatever reason, if you did want this thing to shut off whenever the droppers are empty, I'm going to do it on this one since I have a lot more space here than I do over here. My bad building those so close. You are going to come over here, and we're going to place a block directly diagonal underneath this block. And then we're going to bring this all the way across until we meet up with the end repeater here. You can then dig this out, that way you can still access all of your levers by underneath here. And then we can come up here, take you some comparators facing out of all of these. As you can see, the ones that are turning on are the ones that have the items inside of it. You can then grab you some solid blocks, place a solid block here and drag it in front of all of those comparators. Grab you some redstone torches, place all of your redstone torches along here. Some more solid blocks on top of all of these torches here. Once you get to the end, you're going to build this out by 2 and in by 1. You are then going to place down a repeater here. Grab you some redstone dust and then drag this all the way across the top, just like so. And because we are out of materials inside of these 3 droppers here, as you can see, that means that it's going to power this line and shut off the system. So if we go back down into these droppers, throw in a bucket there, and a bucket here. Now that they are all full, you can see that all of those have turned off, which unpowers this and allows the system to start again. Again, this add-on system here really is not necessary. It makes it 2 blocks wider than it would otherwise be, and just makes it overall bulky, but this is the system that you would want to add if you do absolutely need it. Aside from that, if you are filling these things up and you fill them all with the same quantity of ingredients, or if these are constantly being filled and never run out, you don't need this at all. So save the resources, save the space, and just build this one over here. So let's go ahead and test this thing out and see if it works. So let's try crafting something that does not require all of the ingredients. So let's go ahead and do a enchantment table. That's going to require a space, a book, a space, and then a diamond, obsidian, diamond, and then 3 more additional obsidian. So let me go ahead and clear my inventory. Okay, so I got all the necessary material thanks to the help of commands, and we want to toggle these 2 off. That way these slots are disabled. We can place a book here, 2 diamonds here, and 4 obsidian here just to test out the recipe. As you can see, it works just fine. So let's go ahead and click all of these off. We're going to leave these toggled. So we want to feed these into the droppers in the order of book, diamond, obsidian, diamond, obsidian, obsidian, obsidian. So let's go to the first dropper here. We're going to do the book, diamonds, obsidian, diamonds, obsidian, obsidian, and obsidian. And since we don't need these 2, we can turn those off because we don't want to hear the clicking. And let's go ahead and make this thing fancy as well and just add these in. That way we know that those 2 are disabled. Alright guys, moment of truth. The first time that you start this thing up, you're going to have to turn it off and then turn it back on. And we'll see if it starts crafting. It looks like it's working, so let's go ahead and check this. And as you can see, we have all of our ingredients coming in just the way that they're supposed to. And to be fair, I have no idea what I'm going to do with 4 enchantment tables. I barely ever even use one of them. Now let's go ahead and craft something that everybody hates to craft, which is of course going to be the observer. Let's go ahead and test that this works properly. So we're going to do cobblestone, some redstone dust right here, and then a bow in the center. That's going to give us a dispenser, which everybody absolutely hates crafting dispensers. Go ahead and grab all of this back out. Make sure that it is accepting all of the ingredient slots. And then we're going to put these in the correct order. The whole top row is going to be cobblestone. One here, and one here. Second row is going to be cobblestone and then bows, which I'm going to come back to this one. And then cobblestone again. And the third row is going to be cobblestone, redstone, and cobblestone again. So let's go back to the empty one, which is this one here. I'm going to put 64 bows inside of here. So according to my calculations, that should be 64 total. Now, because we are using all of the materials, we are going to want to unlock these two. And let's go ahead and throw this lever up. That's going to start the crafting process. And let's take a look at it. Look at that. That is a beautiful sight, isn't it? I'll tell you something else that's a beautiful sight. Look at this thing, how compact it is, and the functionality of this that you get in such a small package. That is definitely worth a like and a subscribe if you have not already done so. With that being said, be sure to drop a comment below if you have any questions or concerns, or if you just want to say hi. There's also a ton of relevant links down there, some for my Patreon, some for my Discord, and a few others as well. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!